Okay, today's day 493 of going live, and today we're going to add on to the zip code from yesterday because I just saw this listing come on. It's a four bedroom, one and a half bath, 1655 square feet, which is ideal because that's usually the type of sizes of homes that I'm looking at, especially if they're a three bedroom and I'm looking to convert it into a four bedroom. Now, what's so crucial for building out your comparable sales list is if you've been following what we've been doing, right? We've been adding and creating a list of properties that have been on the market that have been sold by zip code in the last 12 months. Then we started putting together properties that were just sold in the last 3 months because we wanted higher confidence. And now, most recently, since like 6 months ago, we've been tracking what our properties coming onto the market for in the last 3 to 6 months. And these are particularly properties that are coming onto the market because we want to see and track what's going on with the market. Now, the reason we're doing this is because if you want to pursue the BRRRR strategy, right? BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. That strategy is heavily, heavily dependent on you getting your after repair value or ARV correct. And here's why. Let's use an example. So if you were to buy a property for $20,000 cash and you spend 50,000, 50, renovating that property. So now you're all in at $70,000 in total. You might be able to make that property worth $100,000. And the burst strategy works because now you can go get a 70% loan to value loan, LTV. So you can take back out $70,000, right? If your home's worth 100 grand in the form of loan proceeds. That's not taxable because it's a loan. So you can take the same 70 grand that you took out and put it towards the next deal. Maybe the next property you buy for 30 grand and you renovate it for 40 grand. But that allows you to use the same $70,000 over and over and over again. And that's why that strategy is so scalable because, well, what's the alternative? The alternative is you saving up money from your full-time job, saving up for a 20% down payment, and hoping that your property appreciates or cash flows. And I'm not saying you can't be successful doing that, right? Tons of people are successful doing that, building wealth for their families. It's really hard to scale because it's so slow having to save up money from your full-time job to do it over and over and over again. And that's why this was listed there. It was listed 2225. Now, that's why we're tracking what a property is coming on the market for so that we can see firsthand what happens if there are any changes to that market. So this is a two-car garage, no basement, no HOA. Let's see what subdivision is. And now I'm tracking these properties, right? I'm still tracking the same type of stats in terms of bed bath count, year built, square footage, etc., conditions, what neighborhoods in. So you can see that this property is right between Bridalwood and Keel Springs, between Bridalwood and Kilo Springs. And now I can make some general notes about a condition of this property so that I can always refer back to this property if I have another property here next time. Now, these are, I mean, this is what I would call below average kitchen and below average bathrooms. Needs complete floor work done. Oh, there's a basement right here. Yes, unfinished. Finish with carpeting. So a slightly below average kitchen and bathrooms. Not modern, needs full gut. Flooring needs to be redone for entire home and painted as well. So now I know a property that needs essentially a full cosmetic rehab. If this property sells for $83 a square foot, this might become my quote unquote floor scenario. So if I ever buy a property and I can, let's say, get it for like $50 a square foot with rehab, but I know that, hey, even my worst case scenario is $83, that gives me great sense of comfort and understanding that I'm probably going to be able to get $80 per square foot, assuming this property sells, right? That's why we're tracking what our properties coming onto the market today. Another reason why we're tracking properties that are coming on the market today is if you understand how mortgage rates work, right? If you do, the 30-year mortgage interest rates are heavily affected by the two factors. The first one is the actual interest rate on the 10-year treasury yield. So this is right now 4.543. But you can see right now that the 10-year yield has pretty much seesawed. It's went from a peak of about 4.7, a low of 3.6, back up now to 4.8 just a couple weeks ago. And if you were to, say, be refinancing today, I mean, your lender might be looking at property values based off properties that were sold in September and October when interest rates were really low. So the purchase prices might be really high because here's how the relationships work, right? If you have a higher interest rate, it drives your payments up. So that makes it less affordable. And hence that drives your purchase price down because people can't afford as large a payment because interest rates are high. And that only compounds when you have a higher purchase price. That's why this is so important. So going forward, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and understand and track what is this property going to sell for, because today when the interests are high, right, if I'm buying a property today when I'm ready to finish my rehab, refinance the property, it might be based off of values that are being sold today, which drives down my affordability, which drives down the potential value of my home. And that could be a concern, right, because that affects how much money you have to leave in the deal should you have to leave in the deal. Okay, all right, so now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and analyze this property as is, because now that we got all the details in here, let's see what would this property yield if I were to renovate this property. So this property is listed for $138,000. It's 1655 square foot. So I'm gonna assume that I need to replace the roof on this home. It's called 15 grand, 500 bucks for landscaping. I got 1655 for painting, 1655 for renovating my flooring and the kitchen. Kitchen, I would say at least I have to repaint the cabinets. At the very minimum, I probably need some appliances for 5 grand. I'll just leave it as is. Okay. Now my bathroom, it's a little dated. Could I keep it in place? I could, but I probably, let's see. This probably is okay. It's probably rental grade ready, but you probably replace a few things. I only see photos of, okay, this bathroom's a lot older, so I'm gonna renovate this entire bathroom. So I'm gonna do an entire bathroom remodel for one of them, and that's about $7,000, just using a rough estimate here. Might be more, might be less, depending on your market. I'm gonna add a cage for the HVAC system, just so that my HVAC doesn't get stolen. So that's gonna give me a total rehab of about 72 grand with a 20% contingency. Okay. Now, what can I rent this property for? If I put this on the market for on affordablehousing.com and I go to the market rent estimator under the owner section, I can plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count, and I can see that I can potentially rent this property up for 1443, which is the average rent for 25 units within a 1.89-mile radius. So let's do 1443. It's 1400 to be conservative, right? And then my taxes, I'm gonna get from my payment calculator right on Redfin. Obviously, you should double check with your county assessor records before you close, so you can double check. 155, and my insurance estimate here is 107, so I'll do equals 107 times 1.2, and I'm adding 20% premium because I'm assuming that 107 estimate is for a primary residence property. And if I'm using this property as an investment property, I'm going to assume that the insurers is going to view this as a riskier asset. So that's why I'm adding a 20% premium by multiplying it by 1.2. Okay. Okay. Now that I got this number in here, I got 10% set aside for my rents every single month for maintenance. And this is just in case something happens, right? Don't ever believe someone that says, oh, it's a turnkey property, just no maintenance. Because at some point, right, that roof is going to get replaced. Even if you replace a brand new one right now, at some point, your HVAC is going to get replaced. Okay. Then I got 10% for my property management. I got 5% for vacancy. So that gives me a total net profit of about $42.91 if I do a 25% down on this property. So I'm putting a 34.5K down payment, and my financing amount with this property is going to be 1B4, which is my asking price, minus my down payment. So I'll be financing 103.5K using roughly a 7.5% interest rate. If all these numbers hold still, assuming all those expenses, right? Because again, maintenance, that money doesn't belong to me, right? If I don't put aside that money right now, I will be overestimating my profitability because I underestimated my expenses. And that's gonna only allow me to cash flow $43 a month. Now, is that a deal? I mean, if rents continue going up, maybe you get to a positive one, but if I'm looking to get a 10% cash and cash return, then this deal would not work for me. Now, I'm not saying that 10% cash and cash return is the be all and all number. I'm simply showing you how to have an anchor of a number and how to adjust the number up and downwards. Because some people, right? This is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. I'm just simply showing you how to adjust the inputs to meet the criteria that you are looking for. Only you and your investment professional will know what you care about and why you want to diversify your portfolio a certain way. So if I were to lower this asking price, so let's say $50,000, $40,000, 30,000, it is I essentially had to go so low because of how high my rehab number is. I would have to buy this property for 25 grand if my rehab number stays the same as 72, right? I would have to buy this property for 25 grand, 7,200, assuming I put 25% out. And probably no one's gonna give me a loan on a $20,000 home, to be quite honest with you, right? But at least now you know. You ran through the numbers and you say, hey, what do I need to make happen for this to be a 9.6% return? Now, let me go through another scenario. What if, all right, assuming everything else stays constant, I'm still renting out 1,400 and my 7.5 thing. What do you talk to your property managers and they probably, hey, you know what? I think you can probably take down a third of your expense. So times that by 0.67. So your rehab now is 48 grand. So now instead of paying 25 grand, you might say, hey, can I pay 50 grand? Oh, okay. Maybe you overestimate expenses and it's only 48.7 grand. If it's 48.7, because you got a contractor out there and they're like, oh, you know what, the roof is in pretty good shape. You don't need to do that right now. Well, all of a sudden now the deal looks more favorable. So now you can pay 50 grand on that deal. You can get a 9.7% return. That's a 504 cash flow a month, assuming you rent out for 1,400. Again, 25% down, 7.5% interest rate. Now, what happens if your interest rates drop by 1.5 points? What happens when it goes to 7.5 to 6%? Well, all of a sudden, your cash and cash return just a little bit because of how much capital and how capital intensive it is for you to renovate the home. So now you might be able to go to 60, 55 grand. There you go. Because your interest rates dropped down 1.5 points, 25% down, 48,700 still for the rehab, you're not able to pay 55 grand. So in this case, because you have to front the cash to rehab the property in scenario, even though the interest rate only dropped 1.5 points, you can only afford to pay $5,000 extra, which is very atypical and very different than the scenarios that we've been looking at the other days, where if you're depending on leverage or debt to pay most of your properties instead of doing cash out of pocket, then the return on your capital is a little bit higher, right? Because you're using more debt. This is not this case, and this still allows you to get 9.8%. So all these scenarios, right? You think about it, right? All these scenarios still work, quote unquote, based on your criteria. But again, right? Some people might not care about cash and cash returns. Some people say, hey, if I'm buying a home in Southern California, it's $1 million home, but it goes up 5% every single year. I mean, who cares about $100 cash flow a month? I'm making 50 grand a year in appreciation. That's how I really build wealth, right? And that's the interesting part about these properties. Okay. All right. So I hope you all have an amazing Monday, everybody. I hope you all spend some quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. I hope today you copy my homework, right? Use the same deal I analyzed today, using the same spreadsheet. You guys want to copy spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io and go to the get deal analysis tool. And that's the fastest way for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. Using this, you put your name, email, your phone number. That's the fastest way for you to get a copy. And my hope is that you copy my homework. Put this on your own YouTube channel and go live, because at some point someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you say, this is a deal because I've looked at properties for the past 493 days. Might that give you some confidence that you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right, I know today we talked about Birmingham and Centerpoint. You guys ever want to learn more about the top markets in Alabama? Definitely check out the one I talked with Daisy, where she covered all the top markets in Birmingham. And if you guys want to look at the latest podcast, check this out with Mike Cordowski. I mean, it was such a good podcast. He talked about all the energy efficiency programs that we had, from looking at how to take advantage of mass save programs where he was getting Windows installation for free. Huge, huge, huge. All right. Make sure you take a look at that, and I'll see you all tomorrow for day 494. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Without people like you, I'll never have the home I grew up in, so I appreciate you all so much. Have a good one.